Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we're going to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 21. Where are they now? The last one, y'all. We made it.
Listen here. I need y'all to subscribe, like, share, comment. Y'all know what today is. I got my pink slips.
Oh, man.
I got my pink slips. Also, we also do another show on here. We haven't done it in a while because y'all haven't emailed us. But we do this show called What's the Scenario? To where, I know how y'all like to say we should be the therapists of Married at First Sight. I say, no, we're not. But we will play therapists on YouTube. Okay? Listen, send your scenario or what's going on or any wild stories that you may hear that's going on in your life or, your friend's life. Send it to this email and you will get our thoughts about it and things of that nature. And then we will have conversations about it. I think it's a fun show. It's a fun concept. It's a show that involves you.
Yes.
You ready for this, Blair?
I'm ready.
Walk us through this.
All right. So this is 13 months after Decision Day,
Yeah.
right after the reunion, pretty much.
Yeah.
MM and Brandon, they've been together for over a year at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She says he's the best partner that she could have ever imagined. Brandon is officially divorced, but
Yeah.
she still has to get her divorce taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do a commitment ceremony. Pastor Cal will do the ceremony if they do counseling with him first, and they are working on a baby. He said his goal is to make her a mother and give her the life she deserves.
First pink slip goes to Brandon.
All right.
Brandon,
I saw this one coming.
Yeah. Of course. Oh yeah. Right. First pink slip go to Brandon. Brandon, get up off of me. Number one, and off my TV screen. First of all, this is all weird. Matter of fact, let me start with Married at First Sight. Married at First Sight. This is all weird because this is supposed to be a show about marriage at first sight and love, and we starting off with and Brandon. The most cringiest couple I've probably ever seen on the whole franchise of the show, right? Mm-hmm. And not even because of something that is doing individually, but I feel like all of this is just to give you a, happy ending at the end of your story. Also, it feels very motivated by Catchi. It feels very like, you know what? I'm going to get my happy ending story and you going to have to see it and I'm going to bring him on the show and you going to have to see him and you going to have to shake his hand and do all this stuff. Why is this so performative? Why does it feel icky? What is your thoughts, Blair?
Yeah, I don't want to see it. I really don't. Just the same way I don't want to see David and Madison. I want to see the contestants of the show and how their life is panning out. I understand that Brandon is part of MM's life. There are other people on this show who are also in relationships that we don't have to have them forced down our throat. Okay.
Yeah.
So Brandon here talking about he wants to give her a baby, make her a mother, and all these different types of things. I know MM really wants all of these things, so I'm hoping that is real and it's genuine. But like I keep saying, it's a lot. It feels forced. It feels like desperation.
It is,
and it's hard to watch.
No, it's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch. Mm-hmm. But let's continue because we will see a lot more of and Brandon.
So we get to Madison and David. They will be going to MM's commitment ceremony.
Okay.
Neither of them are really nervous to see Michelle, but he doesn't want Madison to get triggered because Madison is protective of him. She hasn't told her dad yet that they're living together. David is going to meet up with her dad, and he wants her to be the mom of his children and his wife. Mm-hmm. So they're living in her one-bedroom apartment now, but they're planning on moving eventually. Mm-hmm. She thinks that he's such a loving family guy, not a lazy mama's boy the way he was depicted. She struggled with seeing how bad Michelle treated him, and Michelle didn't apologize at the reunion. Madison thinks that she should have a sincere apology for David, and David tells her he doesn't need an apology. He's built different.
Second pink slip goes to Madison and David because this is Married at First Sight. I do not like, and granted, this is a new a world that they have ventured into as Married at First Sight. Oh yeah, let me get you their pink slip. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure on the show this has never happened before, to where the couples basically started cheating on the couples that they was matched with other couples that are on the show, right? But there needs to be a hard stance by Married at First Sight that if you decide to do that, we will not feature you on the show no more, and your journey is over. Yeah, we don't need to see David and Madison no more. Also, in all of this, Madison, do you know that you are the wife that basically started messing with someone else's husband? Mm-hmm. Like, all of this heat and all of this problems you have for Michelle comes off as weird and come off as just straight up dumb. You get what I'm saying? Because whole time you're forgetting the fact that, oh, you stepped out of your marriage too with Allan.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of Michelle didn't treat you right, Michelle didn't apologize, Michelle didn't do this, Michelle didn't do that. Whole time you was married to a whole nother man on the show, and I didn't hear you bring up his name. I didn't bring up anything that you should be accountable for when it comes to him and things of that nature. So don't tell me anything about Michelle when it comes to how protective you are and how David is depicted as a mama's boy. You moved him from his mama's basement into your apartment. I'm not saying right or wrong, but don't try to make it seem like we made things up and made up David's storyline.
Yeah.
We've been watching this show since October. Everything that we see that of David, it is what it is. He was a mama's boy that lived in the basement. Facts. You get what I'm saying? What is your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much. They're just doing their victory lap. I don't know what to say about it. They're together. They've been together for a year. They feel like they proved the haters wrong because they've been together for this long. It wasn't some fling like people thought they were going to be. So if they make it and they do well for them, that's great. I really don't want to see it as the viewer because y'all were grimy and dirty the way you did the people that you were actually paired with. So any great thing that happens to you, that's wonderful off camera.
Yeah, please.
Off camera.
Please.
And I also feel like I agree with Madison's disgust and hatred that it comes off that way towards Michelle.
Yeah.
I can understand. Michelle treated that man terribly, absolutely terribly. But Madison, you treated Allan terribly. So for her to want to have
worse. Yeah.
for her to want to have this much grace for herself and be able to explain to Allan what's been going on and all this type of stuff, you strung this man along for weeks.
Yeah.
For weeks, and you knew that you didn't want to be with him, and you were giving him false hope, some of the hope he conjured up himself, I'm not gonna lie, but there was also some hope that you were feeding into him as well. And I just can't understand for the life of me how she can want all this grace but she can't give any to Michelle
Whole time though. And then on top of that, how come you ain't tell your daddy?
Yeah.
What's up with not telling your daddy that y'all moved in together? Right? You're grown.
Yeah.
And all of the decisions that you made is real love and it's real chemistry and things of that nature. And we're just mad and we're just jealous. Why not tell your family, your father at that? But let's continue.
So Allan meets up with his friends.
Yeah.
He's happy the experience is over. He had hope that things could work, but it hurt because he actually got to know her and he actually liked her in some ways.
Yeah.
She apparently was with David pretty early on. He says it was the end of the first week when they actually started hanging out.
Wow.
So we got an actual pin in the timeline, according to Allan. The lost opportunity is what hurt him more so, but he's in a relationship now and he's doing better.
Yeah, I think this is the correct way of how to handle it.
Yeah.
Acknowledge what you felt a year ago while still pushing towards the future and living in the present of, yeah, it did hurt, but at the end of the day, you know, I moved on from that.
And I'm happy Allan's moving on. I feel like Allan really does have what it takes to be a great partner in a relationship. I think he communicates well. I think that he's able to bend in the ways that he needs to bend in order to make a relationship work, but not in such a way that he loses himself or, just his mind or his individuality.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to do well for himself when it comes to love moving forward. I hope for him.
Yeah.
And I hope that whoever he chooses is somebody that's going to see the value in him as well. So,
Same.
Okay, we move on to Carla and Michelle.
Yeah.
And they are in Carla's new place, which
Nice.
looks really nice. Allan put together a dinner. Most of them showed up, and they all thought the reunion went pretty well. Michelle realized that she did some things wrong. She would have changed how she behaved because she knows she was acting like a brat.
Yeah.
She was stuck on being mad and she didn't really get to see why they were connected. And instead of being an adult, she just saw red.
Yeah.
Carla acknowledges that she had some moments, but she appreciates Michelle's honesty. Carla, for herself, wouldn't change anything. She went on a date with someone who was just as free-spirited as her, and she realized that wasn't going to work for her. She needs at least one partner in the relationship to be grounded.
What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad that Michelle is seeing how crazy she looked on television and she's actually admitting to it. So she's taking accountability and hopefully shifting and moving to be a better person. As far as Carla, I totally agree that when you're in a relationship with two free-spirited people, it could land y'all in a place y'all don't want to be. Somebody got to have some direction.
Yeah.
And if Carla knows that I'm not that person, then she should find her somebody who is that person.
Yeah. Listen here, Michelle. I have kept my foot on your neck. I have been consistent in that. You get what I'm saying? Actually, I started off defending Michelle, and then I was like, "All right, Michelle, you ain't gotta act like this now, right?" So the fact that you saw how you were on the show, and you even said I was acting like a brat. You even said I was acting like the B word. You know, hey, let bygones be bygones. I'm happy you seen the light. And guess what? You said that, you know what, that wasn't right of me to act that way. So who am I to come on this platform to continue to beat a dead horse? I'm like, guess what? I just wanted you to see you.
Right.
And guess what, Michelle? You are right with me now.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? You all right with me.
You got 2 feet on the ground this
2
time.
feet on the
no
ground.
foot on the neck today.
You all right. My feet is no longer, not a foot, not a toe, is no longer on Michelle's neck.
All right.
You know what? Michelle is a pretty lady. You know what I'm saying? You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's keep going.
Thomas and Camille get to Thomas's brother's house, and they're sitting there with his wife and their kids, and they're just happy that they've been able to grow their relationship as a family as well. Camille thinks that Thomas is swaggy enough, and they both want to start a family, but when the time is right.
Yeah.
Now this is the interesting part, y'all.
Here we go.
So Tim and Thomas have a talk one-on-one because he's like, I need to talk to my brother away from his wife to really figure out what the situation is going on.
Yeah.
So Thomas is saying that they're getting along pretty well. He is trying to wait to get to that passionate type of love.
Yeah.
Because there are layers to passion, and he's not quite at that place. So his brother was confused because what are you talking about passionate love? He says that they are sexually active, but he means that you feel like you can't live your life without this person. And he's not there yet. And Tim says, well, do you think she's who you want to be with for the rest of your life? And Thomas says that he's working on that. Tim tells him that love can grow.
Ooh, you first or I'm first?
I want to go first.
Go ahead, Blair.
Because I want to volley off of what you have to say. But I do want to say that a year later,
1 year
after Married at First Sight, I just have so many more questions because I'm wondering what has grown during this time when it comes to their love. Is it the same just level of commitment? Because love is commitment too. It's not all passion. And being married is a commitment as well. But what have they not been able to grow within this past year? Like, what is that hurdle? What is that block? And I'm wondering, is it the vulnerability that Thomas is missing in Camille? Is that something that hasn't developed over time that is going to give him that connection to her? Because I think that when some people come across as very I wouldn't say she's cold, but just kind of self-sufficient in a way, to where you don't feel as though there's kind of a push and pull in the relationship, or that we need each other, or that kind of like deeper level of feeling toward each other, then it makes me wonder, is that the hurdle of that vulnerability that's causing him not to get to that passionate type of love? Is everything still surface level? You know, so it leaves me with more questions than answers and comments. But that's the first thing that came to my head, is if that is what's causing Thomas not to reach that. And I also think it doesn't help Camille's jokes when she picks at Thomas or makes it seem like they're not, you know, in a good place or not together. And I know that was like during the reunion and, you know, during stuff like that. But I think that those little things can chip away at somebody of really feeling like, well, then what do you really think? Because all of these jokes are starting to weigh. So,
Thomas, I have a pink slip for you. And I'm not going to give it to you, but I'm going to place it right here.
Uh-oh.
Right? And I'm just going to slide it closer to you.
Okay.
Right? Thomas, love is not a Disney movie. Love is not a fantasy. Love is not something that you could just describe as, you know, just passion. You know, where's the passion to where, like, you know, we just ripping the clothes off each other and things of that nature, right? And the only way I can feel that way, or really the main reason why I feel that way, is because I cannot forget the fact that you was in a 9-year, almost a decade relationship with someone, and it basically was stuck in the mud, right? To the point where you stepped out of the relationship, and I wonder, was it because there was no passion? I wonder because you had an idea of love, and love is something totally different, right? My thing is, this is not, let me give you a little bail to get out of jail, so let me just move the slip a little bit closer to me, right? You got married on Married at First Sight, and at the end of the 6 to 8 weeks, that is the beginning point of actually being married and actually going through it regular, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a unique experience that brings unique challenges, right? So I'm gonna give you a little bill to get out of jail out of that, because this is only a year later. So the whole idea of basically, like, I kind of still don't know her, I'm kind of still learning to be comfortable with her, I give you bail out of jail for that. But as a guy, from my perspective, you have to give something more solid than passion, right? What is it that Camille is falling short in, besides something in the sense of passion, right? Because there's so many layers to Thomas' words to passion, right? It could be sex, it could be just being open, it could be a whole bunch of other things that can lead to that. But it's the idea of him saying, yeah, I feel like, I'm growing to that, like, I feel like I cannot live without it. I'm kind of in the middle on that. You kind of got to lead the charge in what you want out of your relationship. So even though it may be easy to point the finger at Camille and say, hey, Camille, your jokes kind of don't land, even though you're poking fun at it. And some people, it's just a personality thing, know? Even though, Camille, you're not as vulnerable as I would like you to be. Thomas, if you want someone to basically show these attributes of passion and show these attributes of basically I can't live without you, you got to lead the charge, right? So that's why I'm like, how many of these conversations have you had with Camille? And hopefully on TV, it's not the first time she's hearing this.
And I think that's the concerning part, because when we're seeing Camille talk about their relationship in juxtaposition to how Thomas is, it's like we're in two different worlds. Exactly. Camille is saying, like, we're good, we're happy, we're doing this marriage thing, and maybe she really views the relationship as that, and maybe Thomas hasn't brought to her attention the struggles, or maybe Camille is just trying to make it so that people don't get too much into their business at this point, because we gave y'all a whole lot, so we good, you know what I'm saying? So it is strange that we're kind of getting two different perspectives of the same relationship.
So it's like they swap spaces, to where she's fully brought into his swag or swagless person, and she's into the jokes, and he's kind of like, I don't know if I need her forever. You get what I'm saying? Listen here, and the thing that kind of sucks about this, coming from a guy perspective, many times than not, you kind of see it from guys, is that we want something, and then we finally get it, and we're like,
It was like the chase was more fun.
It's like the chase was more fun, but now that we both say yes on decision day, and now we actually have to be married outside of a TV show, it's like, I like my 1-bedroom apartment. You get what I'm saying? So Thomas, I'm not going to give you your pink slip. We're going to deep dive on this later on this week, and I will determine if you tripping or maybe I'm tripping.
All right.
And just to let you know, I'm never tripping.
Okay.
So you are tripping, okay?
Okay.
Let's keep going.
So Catchi FaceTimed his brother. He talks about how he tried not to be dramatic at the reunion.
Okay.
But him and the guys were cool. Some of them came to his art show, and he feels like they didn't really get to know him because he wasn't around much, and he really didn't want them in his business while they were on the show. But they've started to form this bond. We learned that his brother is married with 2 kids, and his brother's children inspires him want to have kids.
Forget the kids, man. Get the help you need. Hopefully you watched the season back at Catchi and saw where you fell short. It's easy to look at how Emma's acting kind of loony right now, and to basically see, look, I told y'all, and then to basically forget to do the work on yourself. Catchi, you have a lot of work to do, and I want to take it outside of just being married. You have said it yourself that you put a wall up against these guys who did nothing to you.
Yeah.
And now you over here at your art show getting emotional because David, Allan, and Juan and everybody showed up. Thomas showed up to support you, and they haven't changed their stance. They wasn't mean, and then all of a sudden end up being nice guys to you. You put up a wall and build up the scenario in your head of why you needed to be closed off, and you kind of rob yourself of time spent with some guy friends, especially since you are in Chicago by yourself. Your words. You get what I'm saying? You don't have a lot of family there. That's what happens when you chasing the show from state to state. You get what I'm saying? So I want Catchi to do the work of why he put walls up immediately.
Yeah.
Without putting walls up after something is done. Right. Nobody did nothing to you, and just off top, we got to go through walls with Catchi. That makes no sense.
Couldn't say it any better.
Yeah.
We move on to Carla and her sister meeting up for coffee.
Uh-oh.
Juan is going to come to discuss what they're going to do for Juancho's Ponchos and also these notebooks that they are going to do since they are going into business together.
Interesting.
Juan arrives. He didn't bring his laptop, but he has his phone and he shows them the logo. And he says, honestly, a lot of the ideas are Carla's.
Okay.
He's in a relationship and Carla is learning more about herself. He talks about how in a relationship, your life has to change. That's part of being with someone. And the lady that he's with does lashes and eyebrows. Carla finds it interesting that he's with someone who's also an entrepreneur and in the beauty space.
You first or I'm first?
You go ahead first. I went first last.
It's kind of funny because now, since we kind of know the future of this whole business experiment from watching Leah's interview with Carla, it's interesting because Carla said in the interview that she kind of didn't have a full picture of how she was being depicted on the show until she watched it back. Right? In the moment, which I did not agree with. I did not agree with on the show, and I did not agree with my wife when we talked about it personally. I said, why do they need to be friends when they decided not to be married? Like, guys do not compartmentalize that way, especially the way that Juan was being on the show, being closed off of being a husband. Why would Carla agree that we could be friends? Why would Carla agree to that we can meet up with coffee where he wouldn't even hold your hand in a marriage? That makes no sense, right? And now we actually see the future now, and it's like, oh, it was never going to work anyway. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? And I think right here, I just want to point out a couple things, right? So let's act like that interview with Leah didn't happen, but I just want to keep preaching the same thing that I've been preaching from day one, right? Juan told us in one of our videos that he made close to $450,000 in a quarter in one of his businesses, right? I wonder how many of those businesses did you forget your laptop?
Did you come unprepared to a meeting? Yeah.
Because I'm like, if you're making close to $500,000 in one quarter, projected to make $2 million in 1 year, there's not a lot of laptops that's being left behind, right? So already, if I was to just go off of this depiction alone, if I was Carla, I'd be like, you're not serious about this. Because you came in, for one, and listen, I'm not going to say late because maybe both of y'all are early. You get what I'm saying? But you came in unprepared. For someone that is so rigid, he told us all the time that he's very rigid, very boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, right?
Yep.
Right? boom, cat, right? All of that, right? You forget your laptop? If there's one thing about me, right? I'll tell you something about me. Whenever I go into these meetings and things of that nature, I don't forget. Listen, I'm the type of person where I'm leaving a whole hour before the time, right? And I'm always prepared. So that right there kind of lets me know that this whole thing was basically a fake attempt to basically like, hey, Carla, I understand I didn't give you the marriage that you wanted, so I'm going to at least entertain you with this whole Juancho Poncho idea, and we can be in business together since we're not going to be married. That's what it came off as. It came off as if it's like, oh, all this is a Carla idea. I'm just basically just here just to basically, I'm here so I won't get fined, basically. It didn't come off as if he was really invested in the business idea himself.
Yeah.
That's what it came off to me. What is your thoughts?
And I just think that when it comes to Juan and Carla's dynamic, I think that Juan has showed up for Carla in this way a lot. Yeah. Of being unprepared, unserious, and not really digesting and taking in what she's saying as something to carry them forward in different ways. And maybe you could view that as a little bit harsh, and maybe Juan was just coming from somewhere else, so he was a little bit disheveled or whatever the case may be. But like you said, in every other meeting, you got your P's and Q's, but when it comes to Carla, you can't stand to put your best foot forward. And I think that's unfair in any type of business relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it, that she gets the short end of the stick when it even comes to the business portion of things. So I do think that they've made the best decision. At least Carla did, as far as breaking off the friendship, breaking off communication. If, they're not really going to be able to be there for each other in the ways that they can actually support each other in a friendship or business partnership. And it's just kind of like, let bygones be bygones. We had the experience together. We don't have to let this thing ride out any longer than it has to. And it sounds like in Juan, in his current relationship, he's willing to change his life up a little bit. He's willing to be with somebody who has, an entrepreneur lifestyle as well, who kind of has a little bit of freedom in their schedule, which Carla found interesting because, I do hair, the other girl does lashes. So we both kind of probably have similar types of schedules. And maybe he, like he said, he respects his current girlfriend's work ethic a lot. So if that person gets him to where he can be the best partner for her, then that's great for their relationship.
Yeah.
So
and in no way am I saying, oh, he should have chose Carla. No. Because I'll be lying by saying I would have chose Carla, right? Carla just a little too free-spirited for me, right? But the whole idea, the thing about it is, one, you had your decision and the power of your decision to say no at decision day. I just didn't understand the whole thing of we should still be friends. I feel like she would regret that we would not be friends with her decision. It just came off as why, like just cut it off. You know what I'm saying?
And I do just want to add that I did see the new video update that Juan put out about the secret that he's not going to reveal about the kinetic vans and all this different type of stuff. Y'all, he didn't say nothing in the video. No, there's really not much to say about it.
No, it's not.
Other than the fact that there's a secret that we can't know about that Carla put out there, or she didn't even put out there because she didn't want to, go against her character and her morals and values. But it's something floating around that we really have no clue about. So there's not much more to say about it.
No.
So moving on. Catchi sees a divorce lawyer. He talks about how he brought some not so legal documents and how she's engaged now. So he doesn't believe that there'll be an issue with getting a divorce. They're not on speaking terms. So communication will go through counsel. The one thing I will say, the divorce lawyer was confused by Catchi because she was asking him, so does the woman think that she's in a relationship with you? Is this going to be contested? And he was like, I don't think it should be. And she's like, okay, what does that mean? So I think that's another thing that maybe Catchi needs to realize is that he's not as clear as he thinks he is. Yeah. So
I think what Catchi was doing this episode was that he just needed scenes to shoot.
I agree.
Because there was no reason for him to meet with a divorce lawyer. The producers handle all of that. So even like her saying, so she's engaged while still married, like I'm confused. And the Catchi's is basically like, look, they doing a Where Are They Now episode. Just give me 5 minutes of your time. And then after this, I'm going to get in the car and call my mama. And then those are my 3-4 scenes. And then I'm good for never being on Married at First Sight again. Yeah. So it is what it is.
So Thomas and Camille have David and Madison over for game night.
Yeah.
They play charades. David wants them to continue focusing on each other, not letting outside opinions get to them. Madison wants them to continue to have fun and not get too comfortable in their relationship.
Okay.
Thomas says he doesn't want this to just be an experience. They still have to grow for their relationship. He wants to make sure they're on the same page when it comes to her family, their family and their future, because that's what he needs to make sure that it's going to last. So Thomas wants these babies sooner rather than later. Yeah. And the more we're hearing him talk and Camille saying that when the time is right, it's sounding like they're on two separate pages about when they're trying to start this family. And Thomas is an older man, not super old, but he's like, well into his 40s.
I think he's 10 years old. I think he's like close to 10 years older than her.
Yeah. And this whole wait until the time is right, I think Thomas is not feeling that.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on David and Madison being cool with Camille and Thomas?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't see why Camille and Thomas would want to be friends with people who cheat on their spouses. And maybe it's because it's the social experiment, so they don't take it seriously. But I wouldn't want no snakes in my circle. Sorry.
Yeah. I thought it was just weird because at the end of the day, I really feel like David and Madison should not be on the show once it found out that they crossed the line. Married at First Sight need to make some code of ethics, like hard lines when it comes to like, this is what you come here for. And when you cross these lines, we have to let you go. So it's just the idea that, at first Thomas is there talking about David, you need to take accountability. And I understand it's a year later. So,
right.
so after a year, it's like, it is what it is. Maybe after the show, we're not going to be as close as like, as if we're filming. But it did come off as a little icky, Mm-hmm.
And I will say Madison is just very focused on fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that as long as they're continuing to have fun, they're going to be great. But I do wonder that when life starts to become mundane, where is that going to leave them?
She's going to look for more fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we see trying on dresses with Brandon.
Stop right there.
Yes.
Yeah, this your pink slip. I can't take it no more.
Okay.
Right. Where are your girlfriends? People should be happy for you, right? Mm-hmm. You finally getting your happy ending, right? You finally getting your Disney story, right? So where are your girlfriends? I seen one of your girlfriends when Catchi called you aggressive and things of that nature, wrongly, by the way, right? I even seen your cousin. I haven't seen your cousin in these episodes and things of that nature. Where are your female friends, your woman friends, your circle, your village, right? Because it seems like you have a village of one. And the one person that's in your village, we are the most skeptical about. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of having a village, is that when somebody is trying to come into that village, you have a village of protection, a hedge around you, so we can question, so we can actually, like, people that know you can actually counsel you, not Pastor Kyle, who only know you through this experience. No disrespect to Pastor Kyle, but take the disrespect if you want it that way, right?
Yeah.
But Pastor Kyle don't know you. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to get to the scene where he's talking to you and things of that nature, and he says something across the lines of, I know you, but I don't really know him. He don't know you either, MM. Right? So the whole idea is that one of the happiest moments of your life, right, you're doing it by yourself. That's not strange.
I find it strange. And then I feel like it poses more questions. Are you still in contact with your friends and family as close as you were before? Is there any type of isolation going on? We know that when you're in new relationships, you really want to spend all your time with that person. But I'm hoping that it's not to a point to where you can't reach out to your people.
Facts.
So it's alarming. It's just alarming to see. So the guys go to Juan's apartment. Everybody except for David is there at first. Yeah. Catchi has not been dating. He's been trying to clear his mind of this experiment. And I'm just like, how long does he need? It's been over a year. like how long does he need? He ain't like the girl from the second week. I think he'd be checked out already.
I guess with him, he's like, man, I want to be done with these filming obligations. Yeah. I think with him, he said it's over, and I want it to be over for real this time, you know?
Allan doesn't have a relationship with Madison or David, but no animosity either. He thinks that Madison pretty much pooped on him throughout the season, and then he goes ahead and leaves because he's got something to do with his girlfriend. Nice. And Catchi met Allan's girlfriend, but not Juan's girlfriend. Apparently, Thomas met her, thinks she's great. And what are you going to say? We don't know. Yeah. Thomas don't know that girl. Exactly. Juan says that you need a partner who is on the same wavelength as you. He likes her work ethic, and they were both grounded people. Nice. David arrives. Juan says that there is a commitment ceremony for coming up. Catchi cheers to that and tells them he saw the divorce lawyer. Juan hopes that Brandon is in it for the right reasons. When the cameras shut off, hopefully he is still there. Yeah. That is a good point right there, because we do hope that for MM's sake, that you are making a right decision. You're making the right decision, because this is a very high risk, high reward type of gamble. Right. And only gamblers make this type of decision. And I'm like, for someone who is in your position, you should not be gambling. Like I really don't understand. Like, life is really at your fingertips. So what is there to gamble? Right. Like you have everything to lose. And what's one thing to lose? Your mind. You get what I'm saying? Once the head go, the body will go soon after. Yeah. So the whole idea that even your castmates is like, hopefully when the cameras is off, because he is in the spotlight a lot, right? That he is there for her. And guess what? For MM's sake, I hope so too. Yeah. Even though I'm not really a big fan of it, but who am I? I'm just a guy that's doing YouTube videos with my wife. Yeah. My word don't get that far. You know what I mean? So the ladies get together, they make candles, they also do a sound bath, and they're just releasing their negative energy from the season. Yeah. Pastor Kyle meets up with Brandon and MM. Yeah. MM wants Pastor Kyle's stamp of approval. She's never been with a man with this level of confidence. She knows he's not love bombing because his actions and his words line up. Stop. That's why it's called a love bomb. It's not called a bomb. Okay. It lines up for a little while until it don't. So what is the words that he's saying that is being matched?
right? This whole idea that y'all only been together for a year, that you know everything or have all the information that you can have to basically make a sound decision is asinine. It makes no sense, right? So this whole and this is where I want to actually ask y'all, probably in a deep dive, of like, what do you do if you're in Pastor Cal's decision, right? Because what I would do is I would stand on my morals, right, and be like, I'm sorry, but I just can't. Like, if this is real, which it's not my job as a friend or as a counselor, as a pastor, to say if it's real or not. But if this is real, I'm sure you wouldn't have a problem finding somebody else to do the ceremony or to counsel you. But me, basically knowing what you went through in this experiment, I feel like as a professional that you should take time to yourself, because this experiment is already unique and it's very hard, right? This kind of goes back to our Code of Ethics episode where Blair brought up a great rule that Married at First Sight should do. There should be therapists lined up after this experiment, right? So that we can send you off the same way you came in or better, right? So the idea that basically Pastor Kyle is saying, how do you know he's not love bombing you? And she's like, oh, I know because his words is lining up with what he's saying. You was engaged 12 days after y'all first date. So what? So like what words were said in those 12 days, then, man? Come on now, don't make me holler.
Okay.
It's the last episode. We got about 5 deep dives to do after this, and then we are on our way out of Married at First Sight for at least the next 6 months. So don't have me hollering on here.
Yeah.
Talking about his words match up with his actions, where we saw you get engaged in a tracksuit in the middle of a jewelry store where for one, he proposed to you without a ring. And then on top of that, he tried to get married on the show without him giving you a real ceremony.
Yeah.
So don't tell me his words match up with his actions when we saw you get engaged 12 days after the whole decision day.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Stop playing in my face.
Yeah. Stop playing in Chris' face.
Yeah, please.
Okay? So she talks about how they fight fair. Brandon says when things go wrong, she treats him like she's arguing with her husband and not some guy off the street.
Okay.
And then talks about how they pretty much just started their life together. They're, according to them, they're married.
Yeah.
Both of their fathers passed. He wasn't close to his dad, but they ended up forming a relationship as an adult. And he did go to counseling, found some peace after his dad's passing. They talk about how their dads probably arranged their relationship from heaven or whatever like that. And Pastor Kyle asks, well, how do you know you guys aren't trauma bonding?
Yeah.
And Mem says because they don't focus on their past or their pain, they focus on their future.
Pastor Kyle, do not let people lie to you like that.
He loves her because he knows he loves her by the feeling, and she can't imagine a life without him.
Okay.
And Pastor Kyle says, Brandon, you're a big personality. He's a little bit more comfortable with him, and Brandon knows that his energy's a lot. Only other thing that I really want to say about this is I mean, what is Pastor Kyle supposed to do? I get what you're saying that, he doesn't need to
stand on his morals.
He doesn't need to be the man to do a ceremony because he's not even marrying them or anything like that. But I think that when it comes to them, if they're saying they're in this happy and good space, then I think that it's really up to time to reveal itself as to what is actually going on here, because neither of them are going to reveal exactly the inner workings of their relationship, which I don't think they should have to. You know what I'm saying?
That's facts.
And I feel like with based on what we've seen, it's hard for us, the viewers, to actually accept what she's saying as truth, because she is willing to accept scraps. So hopefully the relationship is as real as she says it is, like you said, for her sake. For her sake. Yeah.
Because you have already shown me, at least, that you can't be by yourself. Because the perfect time to be by yourself is after you just come from a relationship with a guy like a Catchi, right? So this whole idea that basically I seen your cousin at the wedding ceremony, at the reception, basically interrogate Catchi, and it feels like there was no interrogation with this guy, and this guy looks more dangerous. Yeah. Right? And when I say looks more dangerous, I'm not talking about like I think he's going to do physical harm, but he comes off as an opportunist, right? First of all, he's divorced, right? And no matter when the divorce happened or when the separation happened, there is healing that needs to be done in his life, with the fact that, hey, the nuclear family of him and the mother of his children is no longer there anymore. So now you have to actually stand back and see, okay, what is the aftershock of basically me not being in the house with my boys? Right? Like let's stop this Disney Channel type of love and let's talk real love, right? Mm-hmm. To where, guess what? You have to basically blend families and things of that nature. Listen here, I understand that you lost your father in a tragic way, and I can empathize and sympathize with you, right? But I don't want to hear these fantasies and these like in the cloud thoughts about, you know what, my father in heaven and her father in heaven, and they just knew that we both were sad, so they brought us together. Because what you're doing is you're building up these fantasies and taking out of reality, right? As if like that really happened. It didn't happen, right? So I'm just here to burst that bubble right now. It did not happen that way. What happened was the fact that, you accepted a proposal from a guy who wasn't fully divorced, right? And based on the show that we got off the timeline, in 12 days, right? That is the reality. Do that sound like something that if you was not in the situation, that you would advise for your friend? No. So my thing is, let's stick to the reality, because there are actually real hurdles that you will have to overcome besides thinking that, you know what, two magical things just brought us together and now we're here. The reality is y'all are trauma bonding. The reality is there is a little bit of love bombing. And there's also a lot of Catchi that have to do with this. The whole reason why it feels like, to me, Christopher, that you are with Brandon and that Brandon is basically the love of your life and things of that nature is because you're making a direct comparison to Catchi. Brandon is everything that Catchi is not. And that is not enough to commit to Brandon this early. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I feel like when Brandon talks about how he knows that he's in love with her because of the feeling.
Yeah.
His feelings had him driving down the wrong road for 10 years.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit shaky about going off of Brandon's feelings. I want to know more about Brandon's commitment. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's shown that to and she's seen enough. But across the timeline, I think that he can do a better job of loving her beyond his feelings.
Facts. Mm-hmm. Especially listen, I'm all for it, man. And my thing is the whole idea of we getting this commitment ceremony. He's talking about he want to make you a mom and all this stuff. There's so many hurdles and so many things you have to do before you get to that stage, in my opinion. But it's just my opinion.
Yep. So David and Madison go out with his parents and Madison's dad.
Yeah.
His mom thinks that Madison is the one. She tells her dad that David moved in, and her dad was a little shocked. Mm-hmm. In the confessional, he does get a little bit real with us, and he says that he thinks it's premature, but the heart wants what the heart wants. Pretty much, she grown. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? She grown.
Pretty much.
David talks to Madison's dad, and he says that he's looking to marry her, and he will end up asking her for her hand in marriage when the time comes. And the dad is like, I'll be ready to talk about it when we get there.
I'm about to say, why are we talking about it now?
So the dad is happy Madison found someone that she's comfortable and happy with. And honestly, I think as parents, a lot of them just want their children happy and well-adjusted. Yeah. And even if it comes in a wild form, a lot of them just want that for their child. Mm-hmm. I think that parents who do a better job probably want more than just happiness. They also want good character for their kids. Yeah. But this is where Madison's daddy's at with it.
Listen, at first, Madison's daddy wasn't trying to hold her accountable with the whole Allan cheating thing. Well, not Allan cheating thing, but with her basically stepping out of her own marriage with Allan and she cheating. So it came off as he wasn't holding his daughter accountable. And now we're a year later, and then it's like, oh, I thought this was just a fling, and now you moved him in. Now he looks scared. Mm. Don't be scared, Daddy.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Listen here. I think if there's anybody who know Madison's actions, I think it's her father, and he just like, look, I'm just here just to make sure that when you fall, I'm just here for that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
So Thomas and Camille, they make s'mores. He got her some flowers. They do want to buy some property together, and they're still talking about family planning. Y'all, I think Thomas is tired of the talking. I think he wants to get down to starting the family planning. So
I mean, but he also said, one thing I remember is that he said at his brother's house was that he did want to start immediately, but then he want to make sure that Camille is fully into her career. I think that's fair.
I think that is fair.
That she start her career, at least be on a track of actually getting the ball rolling, then basically potentially not starting and then having kids, and then that just delay it even more. You Absolutely. Get what I'm saying? So Thomas, now this is real marriage. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? The Disney stories is over, you know?
Mm-hmm. And Catchi calls his mom, asks his mom if she has any advice for a divorce, and the mom says to forgive himself and give himself time to heal.
Catchi, you don't need no advice because you ain't view that as a real marriage anyway, my guy.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
So everyone is going to MM and Brandon's commitment ceremony, of course, except for Catchi. Pastor Cal does the commitment ceremony. I did say to my husband, he took the glasses off. He don't want to see what's going on, but maybe he had on contacts.
No. He
said, I do not want to see this.
He took his glasses off. You thought it was kind of strange that because I noticed Carla wore black. You thought that was kind of strange?
No, I didn't.
I'm always skeptical when a woman wear black at a wedding.
I wore black to your best friend's wedding.
Did you?
Yeah. Your girl best friend.
Well, we know what happened.
We're not telling nobody.
Yeah. Okay.
I think black is a nice color.
Maybe you saw something that I didn't, right?
Oh no.
But no, the only reason why I say that is because I remember Carla's. I'm just making a parallel. Carla was when Carla first met Brandon inside MM's apartment. She was the most skeptical and the most real about it, right? Basically saying, "Hey, this guy said that the darkest time in his life and MM was the light while he got kids and things like that." Just paraphrasing, basically saying like MM is the light. That's kind of strange. So I'm like, I ain't gonna hold you. I probably would have been wearing black too, with like a hat, with a veil and everything.
Oh no, please not a veil.
a whole thing, just
not a cane.
Just sitting in the front. You get what I'm saying? But I did not see MM cousin there. Maybe he was off camera. It was just a strange ceremony, and it felt like, at least to me, Pastor Cal, I don't know if you gonna be here for the rest of the Married at First Sight franchise, but it kind of felt like, when you are about to retire and they say, look, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. I felt like Pastor Cal was just like, look, I don't really care no more. I'm about to do this, and then I'm out the door.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And not even on some like he's fired, but just on some like, what do y'all want me to do? I would have liked for him not to do it.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like this whole ceremony is motivated for TV. Because you could have this ceremony. Nothing stopped them from having this ceremony at all during the whole time while there wasn't filming for like MM and Brandon. But the fact that they have it on camera comes off as disingenuous in my eyes.
Right. And they do exchange rings to symbolize their commitment.
And what is a commitment ceremony, by the way?
Who knows?
Yeah, it just like grow up,
So Michelle grabs David to talk. She apologizes for her behavior. Carla thought this process was a good stepping stone for her future marriage. Juan said that he would do the process again if he had the chance.
He's lying. He's lying.
He made some good friends and learned how to work through some things.
Yeah.
Thomas gives Camille what she's been looking for, or Thomas gives Camille, what she's been looking for in a partner, and Thomas learned that you can change and evolve no matter how old you are.
Did you notice when Camille was talking about Thomas, how Thomas' face was when the camera looked at him?
Yeah, but Thomas' face.
No. This was not that.
He chilling most of the time anyway.
That wasn't that face. Yeah. Camille was talking about basically Thomas is a good partner and he gives me what I'm looking for in a partner. That's what she was saying.
Yes.
A compliment that usually, where we heard you even said it this episode, Camille is usually the type that want to kiki and give little backhanded compliments. This was a full compliment.
It was.
Right? And Thomas' face was like,
It did do that.
I don't want to be married no more.
Maybe it was the cake.
No, it ain't the cake. It seems like Thomas is regretting his decision, and I'm gonna talk about it in the
or maybe
dive.
Camille's not being 100% honest about where they actually
Listen
are.
here, I understand. Yeah. I understand what. Listen here, I understand that it takes two to tango, right? But at the end of the day, it did kind of look like Thomas is kind of like, I thought I wanted to be married. I don't want to be married no more. Michelle, I want to give you your respect again for not only saying out loud to us that you was acting like a bee during the marriage, but you went to David and actually apologized.
Yeah.
That you actually is a woman of your word, and that you actually were like, you know what? I apologize, David. I saw how I was acting, and you didn't deserve that. You get what I'm saying? Madison can't do that.
Right.
And I don't expect Madison to do stuff like that. But overall, what is your thoughts on this? Where are they now and overall the season?
Yeah. Where are they now could have been 30 minutes. I was over here like, just chilling. while it was going on. Of course, I was taking notes, but I'm just like, geez, this thing is dragged out. But other than that, I mean, the season was definitely a wild ride. It was entertaining. So I was definitely glued to my screen and to the Reddit this whole season. And yeah, overall, 10 out of 10 season. It was trash, but I was entertained.
Yeah, I was very happy with this season until the ending with the MM and Brandon story. MM, I don't know what you thought this was, but it ain't that. The whole idea of you finally get your happy story and you get to actually give it to a Catchi. It didn't land the way you thought it was going to. Also, this week, going into next week, we're going to do our last batch of deep dives on this season. And then you won't listen. This is not a hot topic channel. So anything that comes out in the sense of what happens off season with these couples and things like that, don't come to our channel for the news because we're not tapped into the, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't follow pages to where like, oh my goodness, Thomas and like Camille are going through troubles. Listen, we review the show. And during the season, when something comes out, we talk about it. But you go get the last batch of Married at First Sight. But while you're doing that, subscribe to our channel, watch our other shows. And also, if you have scenarios that you want to talk about and things like that, be it relationships and things of that nature, send the questions to this email, right? And then we will make a video about it and we will give our thoughts.
Yeah, and y'all, we have content for days.
Yeah.
We're going to be, we're talking about Temptation Island. We've got Married to Medicine that's wrapping up, Housewives of Atlanta. If you want to go back and look at some of our old playlists and watch some like older shows with us as well, you can do that. So we've got content for days. So just enjoy our channel and hang out with us.
We see y'all.
So, bye.